Hello, superstars! Let's proceed our novel. Remember what happened at the end of chapter 5? When Sir Miles Hinton took Edward to his home in order to plan how he would return Edward back to the palace. Now in chapter 6, we're gonna know what happened with Tom. As you can see in the illustration, Tom is sleeping in the bed, surrounded by 2 servants who are trying to wake him up in order to start his day. This is Tom's first day to be a king. 3 gentlemen are helping him to get dressed, and it took an hour to get him ready. At this part, we can see the luxury life that the king was living. After getting dressed, he went to another room in order to have his breakfast. Let's have a look at the illustration together. 4 servants were serving the food for Tom, while 2 other servants stood behind Tom's chair and did nothing. After breakfast, Lord Hertford came in and took Tom to the council chamber. It's like a meeting room where the king and his men discuss things or issues about the country, the problems they are facing, and how they are going to solve them. It went on for hours there. One man was complaining to the king that there was no money because King Henry spent them all on castles. He built a lot of castles. He wore expensive clothes and jewels, of course. So there wasn't enough money to pay for the 1,000 servants. Tom's reply to that was so funny. He said, "Why not living in a small house with only 10 servants?" And he mentioned a house that he knew near Pudding Lane. For us, we know that this answer wasn't the correct answer for a king because he wasn't the real king. But for Lord Hertford, he was quite sure that this was the real king, but he was a little bit ill. So he held him from his arm gently to stop him from talking. Tom got so angry and cross that his face turned red. You know, when your face turns red, it means that you're feeling so angry. In his mind, he started thinking, when would this end? In order to be capable to return back to Pudding Lane and play with his friends and swim in the river. And while he was having lunch, although it was so delicious, but he couldn't stop himself from thinking about his friends and swimming by the river and the games they were playing there. Tom immediately went to his room after having his lunch. And few minutes later, a boy named Humphrey Marlowe came into the room. He was the prince's whipping boy. His job was to be hit by the teachers during the lessons instead of the prince in case he said something wrong. But Humphrey was so sad because he would probably lose his job now after the prince had become the king. And this means that he and his family would live in the streets and would be hungry. Tom laughed and assured him that this would never happen, and he wouldn't stop studying or making mistakes. He also assured him that they would pay for him more than before, and he would never ever lose his job. Humphrey was so pleased and thanked him for his kindness. Although Humphrey's role in the novel is so small, but it's very important that from him, Tom had learned a lot of things about Edward's life. After that, Lord Hertford returned back to Tom and took him back again to the council chamber to continue what they have started. Tom kept signing Edward's name on a lot of papers all the afternoon. Being a king is not an easy task. It was so tiring and he got so bored. Finally, Tom went to bed in the evening and he was so exhausted, tired, and bored. He kept thinking about what he had been through Yes, he had beautiful clothes. Yes, the palace was splendid. Yes, the food was so delicious and he was never hungry. But he didn't want to be the king anymore. He felt every day is the same. So he wanted to return back to Pudding Lane because it's more fun. Here we can see that although that was Tom's dream from the very beginning, he dreamt of being a prince, he dreamt of living in a palace, he dreamt of having a lot of money, to be rich, have beautiful clothes, and never to be hungry again. He was pleased for a while, but then he missed again his old life.